The morning sun painted the fields of New Eden in golden light. Dr. Maya Sullivan walked through the medical center gardens where human children played alongside young Zalari. The blue-skinned alien children moved with grace that made them look like they were dancing instead of running. Their silver hair caught the sunlight as they laughed with their human friends. Maya smiled as she watched little Emma Chen chase after Lyrale's daughter. The Zalari child's name was too complex for human tongues, so everyone called her Star. The two girls had become best friends despite coming from different worlds. They spoke a mixture of English and Zalari that only they seemed to understand. "Another peaceful day," said Captain Rebecca Moore as she joined Maya on the garden path. Rebecca commanded the Colonial Defense Force, though there had been little need for defense in the 15 years since New Eden was founded. The colony had grown from a few thousand brave settlers to a thriving community of 50,000 people. "The Kethmori delegation arrives today," Maya reminded her. "Ambassador, Brooks wants everything perfect for the trade negotiations." Rebecca nodded toward the landing pad where alien and human workers labored together. The Kethmori were tall beings with crystalline features that sparkled in sunlight. Unlike the peaceful Zalari, they came from a warrior culture, but they had proven to be honest traders and skilled engineers. Their technology had helped New Eden build better farms and stronger buildings. "Hard to believe we were once afraid of first contact," Rebecca said. "Now look at us." Maya understood what she meant. When humanity first met the Zalari 20 years ago, many people on Earth feared invasion or war. Instead, the elegant aliens had offered friendship and knowledge. They taught humans about art and philosophy while learning about human science and medicine. The Kethmori had been more cautious, but they too had chosen cooperation over conflict. The colony represented everything humanity hoped to achieve among the stars. Different species working together, sharing knowledge, building something beautiful. Maya had spent years developing medical treatments that worked for all three species. The breakthrough had come when she realized that Zalari healing crystals could enhance human medicines in ways that helped Kethmori warriors recover from injuries faster. "Dr. Sullivan to the communications center," came a voice over the colony's speakers. Maya hurried to the main building where Ambassador Helen Brooks waited with a worried expression. Helen had served as the diplomatic liaison between the three species for 5 years. She was skilled at understanding the complex cultural differences that could cause misunderstandings. "We're receiving a transmission from an unknown ship," Helen said. "They're demanding to speak with our leadership." The main screen showed a vessel unlike anything in the databases. It was dark and angular, covered in spikes and weapon ports. The design looked aggressive, built for war rather than exploration. "Or trade! This is the Vorth Hegemony Fleet Commander," came a harsh voice through the speakers. The creature on screen was insectoid, with multiple eyes and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. "You will identify yourselves and explain your presence in our territory." Ambassador Brooks stepped forward calmly. "I am Helen Brooks, representing the human colony of New Eden. We established this settlement 15 years ago with full approval from the Galactic Survey Council. Our claim to this system is legally recognized." The Vorth commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Your laws mean nothing. This space belongs to the hegemony by right of strength. You have 48 hours to evacuate all humans and their alien contamination from this world." "Contamination?" Helen asked, though Maya could see her hands trembling slightly. "I don't understand what you mean." "The mixing of species is an abomination," the Vorth commander snarled. "Pure races must remain pure. Your cooperation with these other creatures weakens them and makes them soft. We will cleanse this system of such corruption." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving silence in the communications center. Maya felt her stomach drop as she realized what this meant. Everything they had built, all the friendships and partnerships between species, was now under threat. Captain Moore was already on her radio, calling for a full alert. "All defense units to stations. Begin evacuation preparations immediately." "Wait," Ambassador Brooks said. "Maybe we can negotiate. The Vorth might be reasonable if we explain our situation properly." "Did you see the same transmission I did?" Rebecca replied grimly. Those ships out there aren't here for negotiations. We need to start moving people to safety now. Maya ran to the medical center to begin preparing for emergency evacuations. The Zalari staff members were already packing critical medical supplies with efficient grace. Lyrelai Moon Whisper, the chief Zalari engineer, was downloading important data files to portable drives. "How many ships do they have?" Maya asked. "Our sensors count at least 200 vessels," Lyrelai replied in her musical voice. "Some are very large, much bigger than anything in our fleet." The colony's defense force consisted of 12 patrol ships and some ground-based weapons. They were designed to handle pirates or smugglers, not a full military invasion. Admiral Lisa Carter commanded the nearest Earth fleet base, but it was 6 weeks away, even at maximum speed. As Maya worked, she watched through the windows as families began loading onto evacuation transports. Human parents carried children, while Zalari adults helped elderly colonists move to safety. Kethamori warriors took defensive positions around the spaceport, their crystalline armor gleaming in the afternoon sun. Zarathes, the Kethamori military advisor, entered the medical center. Her people valued honor above all else, and she had taken an oath to protect the colony. "We will stand with you," she said simply. "Kethamori do not abandon friends." Maya felt tears in her eyes. In 48 hours, this beautiful example of cooperation between species might be nothing but memory and rubble. The Vorth spoke of purity and strength, but Maya saw only hatred and fear in their words. They were afraid of what happened when different peoples chose to work together instead of fighting. "Dr. Sullivan," came Lyrelai's voice from the communication station. "The Vorth fleet is moving closer. I estimate 36 hours before they enter weapons range." Maya looked out at the gardens where children of 3 species had played together that morning. Whatever happened next, she would not let the Vorth destroy everything they had built without a fight. The colony might fall, but the idea it represented would survive. Somewhere in the galaxy, other species would choose friendship over fear, cooperation over conquest. The Vorth could destroy New Eden, but they could not destroy hope. Ambassador Brooks tried 3 more times to contact the Vorth fleet commander. Each attempt met with the same harsh response. The aliens would not discuss terms or consider alternatives. They wanted every human gone from what they claimed was their ancient territory. "Ancient territory?" Captain Moore asked during the emergency meeting. "Our surveys showed no signs of previous settlement. This system was empty when we arrived." Lyrelai Moon Whisper studied the data on her screens. The Vorth may claim territory they have never actually occupied. Some warrior cultures believe that strength alone grants ownership rights. Dr. Maya Sullivan watched the evacuation efforts through the command center windows. Families lined up at the spaceport with whatever belongings they could carry. The scene reminded her of old Earth history, books showing refugees fleeing disasters. But this disaster was not natural, it was chosen. "Status report," Captain Moore called out. 40% of civilians evacuated, reported Lieutenant Kelly Roberts. "The transport ships are making runs to the outer system where Admiral Carter's patrol fleet can escort them to safety." "How long until the Vorth reach weapons range?" Ambassador Brooks asked. 18 hours, Lyrelai answered. "Their ships are faster than our estimates suggested." The Kethamori commander Zarathes entered the command center with her armor gleaming. "My warriors request permission to prepare ground defenses. We cannot stop their fleet, but we can make them pay for every meter of soil." Maya felt sick at the thought of fighting. New Eden was built for peace, not war. The medical facilities had equipment for treating farm accidents and common illnesses, not battle wounds. But she could see the determination in Zarathes' eyes. The Kethamori took oaths seriously. "Do what you can," Captain Moore agreed. "But remember, our priority is getting people to safety, not holding territory." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. More transports launched toward the outer system, while those who remained prepared for the worst. Maya worked with her medical staff to treat minor injuries from the rushed evacuation. A few children had been separated from their parents in the chaos, and she helped reunite families before they boarded different ships. Lyrelai spent the time upgrading the communication systems. "If we cannot escape," she explained, "then at least we can send word to Earth about what happens here." When the Vorth fleet entered weapons range, they did not immediately attack. Instead, they sent one final message. Humans of New Eden, the insectoid commander's voice crackled through the speakers. Your time has expired. Those who remain will serve as examples to other species who might consider mixing their blood with aliens. Purity through pain, strength through fear. The bombardment began 30 seconds later. Energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking the spaceport first. The remaining evacuation ships exploded in brilliant flashes that lit up the evening sky. Maya watched in horror as the last hope for escape vanished in fire and smoke. All remaining. Civilians to the underground shelters, Captain Moore ordered over the emergency channels. Defense teams, take your positions. The colony's shield generators activated, creating a shimmering dome of energy over the main settlement. But Maya could see they would not hold for long against the massive Vorth fleet. Each impact sent ripples across the shield surface, and the power readings dropped steadily. They're landing troops, Lieutenant Roberts reported. Multiple dropships heading for the outskirts of town. Zarathes and her Kethamori warriors moved out to meet the attackers. Maya watched their crystalline armor gleam as they took positions, among the buildings where human children had played just hours before. The contrast between past joy and present terror made her heart ache. The shields failed after 2 hours of bombardment. Vorth energy weapons began striking buildings directly, turning homes and schools into rubble. Maya moved her medical equipment to the underground shelter network that connected most of the major buildings. Dr. Sullivan, called a voice from the tunnel entrance. It was Helen Brooks, supporting an injured Zalari civilian. Selenith here was caught in the spaceport attack. Her leg is badly burned. Maya quickly examined the wound. Zalari physiology was different from human, but she had treated enough of their people to know what to do. As she worked, explosions echoed through the tunnels from the battle above. The Vorth are using pain weapons, Selenith whispered weakly. Not just killing, making it hurt. Maya had heard reports about Vorth tactics from other worlds, but she had hoped they were exaggerated. The aliens did not simply destroy their enemies. They used weapons designed to cause maximum suffering before death. It was psychological warfare meant to terrify survivors. Lyrelai appeared in the tunnel with a portable communication unit. I've managed to establish a connection to the long-range transmitter. We can send one message to Earth before the Vorth. Find and destroy it. What should we tell them? Ambassador Brooks asked. Maya knew the answer without thinking. The truth. Everything we've seen. What the Vorth do to peaceful colonies. How they hate cooperation between species. As Lyrelai worked on the transmission, the sounds of battle grew closer. Zarathes and her warriors were fighting a running retreat through the colony streets. Maya could hear the distinctive crack of Kethamori energy weapons mixing with the harsher buzz of Vorth guns. Message ready, Lyrelai announced. Transmission includes tactical data about Vorth ships and weapons, plus video documentation of the attack. Send it, Captain Moore ordered. The transmission lasted only 30 seconds before Vorth jammers cut the signal. But it was enough. Somewhere, across the galaxy, Earth would receive New Eden's final message. They would know what happened here, and why. Zarathes stumbled into the tunnel with 3 of her surviving warriors. Her armor was scorched and cracked, leaking the blue fluid that served as Kethamori blood. They are too many, she reported grimly. We held them for 6 hours, but they keep coming. Maya moved to treat the wounded warriors while Captain Moore coordinated the final defensive positions. They had perhaps 50 people left in the shelter network, mostly medical staff and a few security officers. Above them, the Vorth were systematically destroying everything the colonists had built. Why? Asked one of the wounded Kethamori warriors. Why do they hate seeing species work together? Maya paused in her medical work. It was a question she had been asking herself since the attack began. Because it scares them, she said finally. When species cooperate, we become stronger than any of us alone. The Vorth rule through fear and division. Unity threatens everything they believe. The explosions above grew louder. Soon the Vorth would find the tunnel entrances, and the shelter network would become a trap instead of a refuge. Maya looked around at the survivors. Humans, Zalari, and Kethamori all wounded, but still helping each other. Lirelei was sharing her water with an injured human child. Zarathes had given her weapon to Ambassador Brooks, teaching her how to use it. Even facing death, the three species continued to work together. That cooperation was what the Vorth feared most. It was also what would eventually defeat them. "If any of us survive this," Maya said quietly, "Earth needs to know that New Eden proved something important. Different species can live together in peace. The Vorth can destroy our buildings and kill our people, but they cannot kill that idea." Captain Moore checked her weapon one final time. "The idea survives," she agreed. "And someday, Earth will make them pay for what they've done here." The damaged transport ship New Dawn limped into Earth orbit 6 weeks after the fall of New Eden. Dr. Maya Sullivan stood in the medical bay, looking through the viewport at the blue and white marble that was humanity's home world. She was one of only 37 survivors from a colony of 50,000 people. Admiral Patricia Davis waited in the docking bay as the survivors disembarked. Maya had met the fleet admiral once before, during the New Eden colony's 10th anniversary celebration. Davis had seemed impressed by the cooperation between species. Now her face was grim as she counted the few people stepping off the transport. "Dr. Sullivan," Admiral Davis said, approaching with President Laura Martinez and several other officials. "I'm sorry for your loss, all of our losses." Maya nodded, feeling numb. The journey back to Earth had given her too much time to think about what had happened. Too much time to remember the faces of friends who would never return home. "We need your report," President Martinez said gently. "Everything you saw, everything you remember. The galaxy needs to know what the Vorth hegemony is capable of." In the debriefing room, Maya played the recordings that Lirelei had managed to transmit before the communication array was destroyed. Government officials and military commanders watched in silence as the footage showed Vorth soldiers torturing civilians before executing them. The aliens used weapons designed to cause maximum pain, turning murder into a form of psychological warfare. They weren't just destroying the colony, Maya explained to the packed room. They were sending a message. This is what happens to species that choose cooperation over conflict. Fleet Admiral Davis studied the tactical data about Vorth ships and weapons. Their technology is advanced, but not beyond our capabilities. The real advantage they have is numbers and brutality. President Martinez spoke into her communication device. "Priority Alpha authorization. Activate the Total War Protocol. Congressional emergency session in 2 hours." Maya had never heard of the Total War Protocol, but she could see from the reactions around the room that it was significant. Admiral Davis was already on her communicator, speaking rapidly to fleet commanders across the solar system. "What does that mean?" Maya asked. "It means Earth is going to war," President Martinez replied. "Not a police action or peacekeeping mission. Total war. Every ship, every resource, everything we have." Within hours, the news of New Eden's destruction spread across Earth and the human colonies. Maya watched the reactions on the global networks. Anger, grief, and determination mixed together. In demonstrations from Luna City to the Mars orbital stations, humans who had never met an alien demanded justice for the murdered colonists. The Zalari and Kethmori representatives on Earth, Selenith Starweaver and Vexandra Battleheart, requested an immediate meeting with President Martinez. Maya was asked to attend as the senior surviving officer from New Eden. "The hegemony has attacked many worlds," Selenith explained in her musical voice, "always targeting places where species live together peacefully. They believe cooperation makes us weak." Vexandra, her crystalline features reflecting the conference room lights, spoke with the formal tone her people used for serious matters. "Kethmori clans will honor our alliance with humanity. This attack demands blood payment." President Martinez looked at the alien representatives. "Our species have been friends for 20 years. If we're going to fight the Vorth, we fight together." Admiral Boss. Davis activated a holographic display showing ship deployment across the solar system. "We can mobilize 400,000 frontline warships within 3 months. Another 200,000 reserve vessels can be brought out of storage. The orbital shipyards are already working on rapid deployment designs." "How many ships does the Vorth hegemony have?" Maya asked. "Intelligence estimates put their total fleet at around 300,000 vessels," Admiral Davis replied. "But they're spread across their territory. They won't expect us to mobilize our entire fleet for one attack." General Amanda Foster, Earth's senior military commander, stood before a wall display showing troop movements. Every available transport is being converted for military use. We're looking at the largest fleet mobilization in human history. Maya watched the preparations with mixed feelings. Part of her wanted the Vorth to pay for what they had done to New Eden, but another part worried about humanity becoming the very thing they were fighting against. "What happens after we defeat them?" she asked. "We make sure this never happens again," President Martinez replied. "The Vorth rule through fear and division. We'll show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest." The shipyards around Earth worked day and night building new vessels. Maya visited the Luna construction facility where Admiral Davis was overseeing the final preparations. Ships stretched to the horizon, more military vessels than had ever been assembled in one place. 700,000 ships, Admiral Davis said, joining Maya at the observation deck. Every class from small frigates to massive dreadnoughts. The Zalari have provided shield technology that's more advanced than anything we've built before. The Keth Mori are sharing their weapons designs. Maya could see alien engineers working alongside humans on the ship modifications. Zalari technical specialists studied human computer systems, while Keth Mori weapons experts installed their energy cannons on Earth vessels. Even in preparation for war, the three species continued to cooperate. "The survivors from New Eden will be given positions in the fleet," Admiral Davis continued. "Your medical expertise with alien physiology makes you valuable. The Zalari and Keth Mori crews will need doctors who understand their biology." "I'm not a soldier," Maya protested. "None of us were, until the Vorth made us into one. But we can't let fear stop us from doing what's right." Maya thought about her friends who had died on New Eden. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been working on a project to help Zalari children with a rare disease. Engineer Tom Bradley, who had taught Keth Mori teenagers how to repair human machinery. Ambassador Brooks, who had spent her life building bridges between species. "When do we leave?" Maya asked. "1 week," Admiral Davis replied. "Fleet Admiral Lisa Carter will command the expedition. You'll serve as Chief Medical Officer aboard the flagship, Terra's Wrath." Maya had known Lisa Carter since her early days in the Colonial Service. Carter was known for being brilliant, careful, and completely ruthless when protecting human interests. If anyone could lead humanity to victory against the Vorth, it would be her. The final week passed quickly. Maya received her new uniform and assignment orders. She would serve not just as a doctor, but as an advisor on alien psychology and behavior. Her experiences on New Eden made her one of the few humans who truly understood how the three species could work together effectively. On the last day before departure, Maya visited the memorial that had been built for the New Eden colonists. 50,000 names were carved into black stone, representing every human, Zalari, and Keth Mori who had died in the attack. President Martinez spoke at the dedication ceremony. "They died because they chose friendship over fear," the president said to the gathered crowd. "They built something beautiful between the stars, and the Vorth destroyed it out of hatred and ignorance. We go now to ensure that no other colony suffers the same fate." Maya touched one of the names on the memorial. Little Emma Chen, who had been best friends with the Zalari child called Star. Both children had died in the spaceport bombing, but their friendship had shown what was possible when species chose to trust each other. The next morning, Maya boarded the Terra's Wrath as 700,000 ships prepared to leave the solar system. It was the largest military force in human history, supported by the most advanced technology their alien allies could provide. The Vorth hegemony had started this war, believing that cooperation made species weak. They were about to discover how wrong they were. Fleet Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the Terra's Wrath as 700,000 ships prepared to jump into hyperspace. The massive fleet stretched beyond visual range, organized into 7 battle groups that would strike Vorth targets across their territory. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Dr. Maya Sullivan watched from the medical deck as the stars shifted during the hyperspace jump. She had spent 3 months working with Zalari scientist Thessarian Voidcaller to develop weapons specifically designed to counter Vorth biology. Their research had revealed that the insectoid aliens relied on crystalline nervous systems that could be disrupted by quantum field generators. First target is the Kepler mining station, announced Captain Nicole Grant from her position at the tactical station. The Terra's Wrath was one of the new Dreadnought-class ships, larger and more powerful than anything previously built by humanity. Intelligence reports indicate the Vorth are using human prisoners as slave labor. Maya felt her stomach tighten. The Vorth had taken prisoners from New Eden and other attacked colonies. For months, those people had been suffering under alien masters who viewed mercy as weakness. Admiral Carter studied the tactical display showing the approach to Kepler Station. Remember, this is our first engagement with combined human-alien technology. Zilari shields, Keth Mori weapons, human tactics. The Vorth won't know what hit them. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Maya could see the mining station on the main view screen, a massive industrial complex built into an asteroid. Vorth warships patrolled nearby, but they were clearly not expecting an attack of this magnitude. Vorth Fleet Commander is requesting communication, reported the communications officer. Put him on screen, Admiral Carter ordered. The familiar insectoid face appeared, mandibles clicking in what might have been surprise. Human vessels, you are trespassing in hegemony space. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Admiral Carter stepped forward. I am Fleet Admiral Lisa Carter of the Earth Defense Force. You are harboring human prisoners taken illegally from our colonies. Release them immediately and surrender, or we will take them by force. The Vorth commander's multiple eyes seemed to focus on the size of the human fleet visible behind the flagship. Impossible. Humans are weak creatures who rely on alien contamination. For strength, your ships will be destroyed like your pathetic colony. Wrong answer, Admiral Carter replied, cutting the transmission. All ships, engage. The battle lasted less than 2 hours. The Vorth defenders had 40 ships against 700,000. Their energy weapons were powerful, but they had never faced the combined technology of 3 allied species working together. Zilari shields absorbed their attacks while Keth Mori particle cannons tore through their hulls. Maya worked in the medical bay treating the few casualties from the engagement. Most were minor injuries from equipment overloads when the ship's new weapon systems fired at full power. The integration of alien technology with human designs was still being perfected. Dr. Sullivan to the bridge, came Admiral Carter's voice, over the ship's speakers. Maya found the Admiral reviewing reports from the prisoner rescue teams. Captain Beth Taylor had led the ground assault on the mining station, using combined human and Keth Mori Marines to overwhelm the Vorth guards. We found 2,000 human prisoners, Admiral Carter reported. They've been forced to work in dangerous conditions without proper safety equipment. Medical teams are treating them now. What about casualties? Maya asked. Surprisingly few. The Vorth surrendered once they realized they were completely outmatched. It seems they're not as brave when facing an enemy that can fight back. Over. The following weeks, the pattern repeated across Vorth territory. The human fleet struck target after target, liberating prison camps and destroying military installations. The Vorth had spread their forces thin across hundreds of systems, never expecting to face such a massive coordinated attack. Captain Grant commanded the rescue operation at the Altair facility, where Vorth scientists had been conducting experiments on captured aliens. The freed prisoners included Zilari artists and Keth Mori engineers who had been taken from other destroyed colonies. They were trying to understand how different species cooperate, explained one of the rescued Zilari to Maya during their medical examination. The Vorth cannot comprehend voluntary cooperation. They think we must be controlled or enslaved. Maya found this insight disturbing but useful. The Vorth military doctrine was based on domination and fear. They had no experience fighting enemies who chose to work together willingly. Every battle revealed new weaknesses in their tactical thinking. Keth Mori Commander Theralyn Stormstrike provided crucial intelligence about Vorth fleet movements. Her people had been studying the hegemony for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike back for past attacks on Keth Mori worlds. The Vorth leadership is based on Vorth Prime, Theralyn explained during a strategy meeting. They rule their territory through fear, but they have never faced a united enemy. Their commanders are trained to fight isolated targets, not coordinated fleets. Admiral Carter studied the star charts, showing Vorth defensive positions. How many ships defend their home system? Intelligence estimates 80,000 warships, replied Captain Grant. plus orbital defense platforms and ground-based weapons. It will be their strongest position. And they'll be expecting us, Admiral Carter added. By now they know we're coming for them. Maya watched the tactical planning sessions where human Zalari and Kethmori officers worked together to devise attack strategies. The cooperation between species had become even stronger during the campaign. Shared battles and common goals had forged bonds that went beyond simple alliance. Dr. Sullivan called Thessarian from the science station. I've completed the analysis of captured Vorth technology. Their weapons are designed primarily for intimidation and causing pain. They're less effective against targets that aren't afraid. What do you mean? Maya asked. Vorth psychological warfare depends on their enemies breaking under torture and terror. But the human fleet hasn't shown fear. Our crews fight harder when they see evidence of Vorth cruelty. Their main weapon is actually making us stronger. Maya understood what the Zalari scientist meant. Each liberated prison camp and each rescued colonist had reinforced the human fleet's determination. The Vorth had built their empire on making other species, too, afraid to resist. But humanity and their allies were not afraid. They were angry. Admiral Carter announced the final phase of the campaign during a fleet-wide transmission. We've liberated 47 Vorth prison facilities and destroyed their outer defensive lines. Now we strike at the heart of their empire. Vorth Prime has 80,000 ships waiting for us. We have 700,000 ships and the righteousness of our cause. Maya felt the ship's engines change pitch as the fleet prepared for the final hyperspace jump. In a few hours, they would arrive at the Vorth home system for the decisive battle. Everything they had fought for, everything the colonists of New Eden had died for, would be decided in the coming engagement. All medical staff to battle stations, Maya announced over the ship's medical network. Prepare for heavy casualties. The Vorth will fight hardest when cornered. But as she looked around at the mixed crews of humans, Zalari and Kethmori preparing for battle, Maya felt confident. The Vorth had made a fundamental error when they attacked New Eden. They had assumed that cooperation made species weak. Instead, they had united three civilizations in common cause. The lesson they were about to learn was simple. Friendship was stronger than fear. Cooperation was more powerful than conquest, and sometimes the peaceful had to fight to preserve peace. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vorth Prime system. Dr. Maya Sullivan watched from the Terra's wrath as 700,000 ships spread into attack formation. Ahead of them waited the largest concentration of Vorth warships ever assembled, 80,000 vessels protecting their home world. Fleet Admiral Lisa Carter studied the tactical display with grim satisfaction. They've pulled ships from across their territory to defend this system. Good. We can end this war in one decisive battle. The Vorth homeworld hung in space like a dark jewel, its surface covered in the geometric cities that the insectoid aliens favored. Massive orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet, bristling with weapons designed to destroy entire fleets. Maya could see why the Vorth felt confident in their defenses. Incoming transmission from the Vorth fleet, announced the communications officer. The familiar insectoid face of a Vorth commander appeared on screen, but this one wore different markings that suggested higher rank. I am Supreme Commander Vextar of the Hegemony Defense Fleet. You have come far from your weak human world, but this is where your contaminated alliance dies. Admiral Carter stepped forward. I am Fleet Admiral Lisa Carter. We offer you one chance to surrender and face trial for genocide. Refuse, and we will take your world by force. Vextar's mandibles clicked in what Maya had learned was Vorth laughter. Impossible. You may have numbers, but we fight for racial purity and the natural order. Your mixed crews will break when faced with true Vorth strength. You destroyed New Eden to prove that cooperation makes species weak, Admiral Carter replied. Today you'll learn how wrong you were. The transmission ended, and both fleets began moving toward engagement range. Maya reported to the medical bay where teams of human, Zalari, and Kethmori doctors prepared for the casualties that would come. The medical staff represented everything the Vorth claimed was impossible, three species working together seamlessly, each contributing their unique skills. Vorth orbital platforms are powering up, reported Captain Nicole Grant from the bridge. They're targeting our lead ships. Execute attack pattern Carter 7, Admiral Carter commanded. Show them what real cooperation looks like. The human fleet attacked in coordinated waves, each group supported by specific alien technologies. Zalari energy shields protected the advanced ships, while Kethmori particle weapons targeted the orbital platforms. Human tactics adapted in real time as the situation changed, something the rigid Vorth hierarchy could not match. Captain Beth Taylor commanded the breakthrough assault that destroyed the first ring of orbital defenses. Her ship, the Earth's Vengeance, led a combined force of human frigates, Zalari cruisers, and Kethmori destroyers. The mixed formation confused the Vorth targeting systems, which were designed to fight single-species enemies. Platform 7 is down, Taylor reported over the communication network. Moving to target Platform 8. Maya felt the Terra's wrath shake as Vorth energy weapons struck their shields. The Zalari defensive technology held, but she could see the power readings dropping with each hit. Around the medical bay, wounded crew members began arriving as the battle intensified. Multiple fractures in his crystalline structure, reported a Kethmori medic about one of his wounded comrades. Maya quickly moved to help, using the hybrid medical techniques she had developed on New Eden. Human surgical tools combined with Zalari healing crystals to repair damage that neither species could have treated alone. Admiral Carter's voice echoed through the ship. Vorth Command Station identified. All available ships concentrate fire on target designated Alpha Prime. Maya looked up at the tactical display. The Vorth fleet was fighting with desperate courage, but their formations were breaking apart under the sustained assault. Their commanders kept trying to isolate single groups of human ships, not understanding that the entire fleet fought as one unified force. Commander Kelly Roberts led the crucial assault on the Vorth Command Station. Working with Zalari infiltration, Specialist Myralith Shadow Dancer and Kethmori Demolitions expert Kiravan Forgehammer, she managed to disable the central coordination network that linked all Vorth forces. Command network is down, Roberts reported. Vorth ships are operating independently now. Without central coordination, the Vorth defense collapsed rapidly. Individual ship commanders found themselves facing multiple enemies with no support from their allies. Many began surrendering rather than face certain destruction. Supreme Commander Vextar made one final transmission as his flagship was surrounded by human vessels. This is impossible. Cooperation should make you weak and divided. How can you fight so effectively together? Admiral Carter answered from the bridge of the Terra's wrath. Because we choose to trust each other. Your people rule through fear and force. Ours work together because we want to, not because we have to. That makes us stronger than you ever imagined. The battle ended 6 hours after it began. Maya worked through the aftermath, treating wounded from all three species. The casualties were far lower than expected, partly because Vorth resistance had collapsed so quickly once they lost coordination. Final casualty report, she announced to Admiral Carter. 2,000 wounded, 300 dead. The Vorth lost nearly 60,000 ships. And the orbital defenses? Completely destroyed. Vorth Prime is defenseless. Admiral Carter looked out at the defeated enemy fleet. Thousands of Vorth ships hung dead in space, their crews either killed or surrendered. The few remaining vessels were broadcasting surrender signals. "What are your orders regarding the planet?" asked Captain Grant. Maya watched Admiral Carter consider the question. The human fleet had the power to destroy Vorth Prime completely, to give the insectoid aliens the same treatment they had given New Eden. But that was not who humanity was. "We establish orbital control and begin trials for war crimes," Admiral Carter decided. "The Vorth leadership will face justice for genocide, but their civilian population will be protected. We're not here for revenge. We're here to make sure this never happens again." 3 months later, Maya stood in the rebuilt gardens of New Eden. The colony had been reconstructed as a memorial to the victims of the massacre, but also as a living symbol of what cooperation between species could achieve. Children of all three races played together again among the flowers. Admiral Carter, now promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander, joined her on the garden path. The Vorth trials concluded yesterday. Their leadership was found guilty of genocide and crimes against sentient beings. The remaining population has agreed to a supervised transition to democratic government. "What about their military?" Maya asked. "Disbanded. The few ships they're allowed to keep are for planetary defense only. They'll be monitored by joint human-Zalari Kethmori peacekeeping forces. Maya watched a group of children running past. Among them was a young Vorth, one of the few members of that species who had rejected their government's ideology of racial purity. The child played happily with human, Zalari, and Kethmori friends, proving that cooperation was possible even between former enemies. "Do you think they learned anything?" Maya asked. Admiral Carter smiled. "The children have. That's what matters for the future." At the dedication ceremony for the New Eden Memorial, representatives from dozens of species gathered to honor the victims and celebrate the victory. Maya spoke about her friends who had died in the original attack, but also about what their sacrifice had accomplished. "They died because they chose friendship over fear," she told the assembled crowd. "But their choice inspired others to stand up against those who would divide us." 700,000 ships answered their call for justice. Not just human ships, but vessels crewed by all the species who believe that cooperation makes us stronger. The memorial itself was a work of art created by humans, Zalari, and Kethmori working together. It honored not just the dead of New Eden, but all beings who had suffered under the Vorth regime. The names of every victim were inscribed in the languages of all three species. As the ceremony ended, Maya walked among the displays showing the history of the war. The massive fleet mobilization, the liberation of prison camps, the final battle at Vorth Prime. But the display that drew the most attention showed children from different species playing together, first on the original New Eden, then in the rebuilt colony. Ambassador Helen Brooks's daughter, now grown and serving as a diplomatic aide, joined Maya at the memorial wall. "My mother would have been proud to see this," she said. Everything she worked for, everything the colony represented, it survived. Maya nodded, touching one of the names carved into the memorial stone. Little Emma Chen and her Zalari friend Star were still listed together, their friendship preserved, in stone. But their legacy lived on in the children playing in the gardens, in the cooperation between species that had grown stronger despite the Vorth attempt to destroy it. "The idea survived," Maya agreed, "and it always will, as long as we remember that we're stronger together than apart." The rebuilt New Eden stood as proof that friendship could triumph over fear, that cooperation was more powerful than conquest. 700,000 ships had carried that message across the galaxy, and it would never be forgotten. The Vorth had tried to prove that mixing between species was weakness. Instead, they had demonstrated that unity was the greatest strength of all.